Hello and welcome to another episode of Scale Up Soundbites. Today I'm joined with a special guest of mine, Monica Lai, who is co-founder and director of a data consulting company or data analytics consulting company, EdgeRed.
Yes.
And we've known EdgeRed professionally over the past year, helping them out, finding some pretty talented people across the data space. And I'm very fortunate to be joined with you today to hear your story about not only why you started EdgeRed, but also a bit more about your background and history and being a female leader in the tech space. Super excited to be to hearing this story. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, and thanks for having me here. I'm also very excited to share my story as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, let's start off with a couple of funny stories, actually.
Okay. I'm nervous.
That I wanted to sort of delve into, because I remember when I first met you, when I was talking to you about this and coming on the show.
Yeah.
You were talking about like a couple of things with you and your business partner when you first started EdgeRed about what you guys had to do to sort of, change your appearance slightly and stuff like that to sort of be, you felt like a bit of imposter syndrome there in the corporate world. So do you want to elaborate a bit further on that?
Yeah, no, for sure. When so I started the business 6 years ago now.
Wow, congratulations.
So I think I was maybe 25, 26 then.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, we were pretty young. And one of the things that we struggled with was, getting clients to treat us seriously.
Yep.
And it didn't help that, we've got baby face. When we went to meet clients, we definitely wanted them to kind of treat us seriously, and didn't think that we're a bunch of kids that, just came out of uni or something. Mm-hmm. I think we've been mistaken as grad students before.
Wow.
So definitely a bit of an imposter syndrome when we first started. We kind of went out of our way to dress up older as well.
Yeah.
So I would definitely hide my age and not reveal it if possible.
Ooh, really?
I had like blonde hair at the time, so changing it back to natural hair color. Dressing a bit older, wearing corporate clothing, and all that. So yeah, I think even now I'm a bit more comfortable sharing my age, but I tend not to reveal it if possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real need to, I don't think so. And in the HR circles, it can be like deemed as a bit illegal and definitely unethical. So yeah. What sort of clothes did you wear? Or what did you used to wear to not look professional corporate? Yeah,
so I think just like button up clothes,
more like a corporate
skirt, blazer. A lot more relaxed now, as you can probably tell. As I'm like we're a lot more comfortable with the business and where we're at today. But at the beginning, it definitely felt a lot of insecurity, and that we had to kind of appear as if we were a lot much mature. So that was something we struggled with.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, not only with clients, but also I guess this was probably maybe like more in our head than actually what's in reality.
Sure.
We could just be kind of, having all these thoughts, but in reality, maybe that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what imposter syndrome is, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of more in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So we also hide people as well. And we also wanted, employees to take us seriously as well as their employers.
Yep.
So the coming across as mature wasn't just for clients, but also for our internal team as well.
Internal perception, yeah, for sure. How you said a lot of things about in your head. Was there any sort of strategies or anything that were you aware of it at the time, and were there things that you did to overcome it besides dressing differently?
Yeah, I think it was around, how to appear more mature is one thing. The way you talk as well, taking pauses, sounding more confident, and just watching a bunch of videos and tips on how, how people address their audience. Sometimes we take some advice from different people, our mentors as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So why data?
That's a good one. When I was in uni, I studied math. So I actually didn't even know what data analytics was.
Yeah.
And at the time, people were asking me, why am I studying maths? Like, what am I going to do with my degree?
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was going to do. So I started applying for a bunch of internships. And Deloitte had an internship for data analytics, and there it wrote like prerequisites was like stats or maths degree.
Yeah.
And so I just signed up for that, and then went through. I had a really good experience there.
Yeah.
I was paired up with a very good team, good manager, and good partner.
Yeah.
And they gave me some pretty interesting projects to do.
Yeah.
And that's where my eyes kind of opened to the world of data. And yeah, my passion just kind of grew from there.
This is going to sound a little random. Was it part of Deloitte Access Economics, or was it?
No, there was their analytics team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Did you know of Deloitte Access? Have you heard it?
I have heard of it.
All right.
Yeah.
That's where my brother used to work, and they had
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That just came to me just then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, when we were there, we had like a centralized data analytics function.
Mm-hmm.
I did my internship there. Then I was offered a grad position, so I came back to do that. And then at that point, they kind of broken us up into different teams. So I was aligned more with their fraud analytics. So I did a bunch with, financial institutions.
Yeah. Was it cool?
At the start, it was. Yeah, at the start, it was. There was a lot of traveling. I did a lot of traveling to Melbourne.
Yeah.
At first, it was really fun, but then I got sick of it pretty quickly. It was pretty isolating. So I figured out pretty quickly that traveling was not for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the fantasy of traveling with work is good for exactly what you just said, but then you kind of like, I still actually have to work, and when you're done working, you actually just want to go sleeping.
Exactly. You spend most of the time in the hotel room just finishing up your work as well, so not as glamorous as it seems.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, fast forward. What prompted you to start EdgeRed?
So I was at a company beforehand. So I worked at Quantium for a bit, and then I moved to Macquarie Bank.
Yep.
All in data analytics space.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got to a stage where I felt like I wanted to change. Not exactly sure what the change was. And then my co-founder Howard, who I met at Quantium, he kind of reached out to me and said, "Hey Mon, there's like this opportunity to join Accelerator." So it actually was Westpac's first data accelerator.
All right.
And it was basically exclusive access to the banking data via the Data Republic platform. So it's all de-identified and secured and all that and aggregated. So we thought it would be fun to join that. We were both in the stage where we wanted to try something different, and we were going to kind of apply for different jobs anyway.
Yeah, sure.
And so for us, we felt, why don't we just quit our jobs, do this startup and see where it goes.
Yeah.
If we enjoy it, then let's keep doing it. If we don't enjoy it, then let's just go and find another job. So for us, the risk factor was not that high.
Yep.
At least from our perspective anyway. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. So they had like a problem, or Westpac had like an opportunity to say, all right, we want to create a startup inside the business, looking at their own data.
Yeah.
And then you guys come together and start up. Man, how good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. So the purpose of it was to find innovative way to commercialize their data. So we were there with a cohort of other members as well, or working on different ideas. So we did start off with working on, say, a product idea. So Howard and I spent months, just the two of us, kind of trying to build out a product using the data. So we built like proof of concept. We tried to go to market and sell it, and that's kind of where I was alluding to about getting clients to treat us seriously.
Yeah, right.
When we were pitching these product ideas to them, and them not treating us like grad students.
Yeah. This is internal in Westpac as well.
Like we had Westpac stakeholders as like mentors, but then it was to kind of prove out the concept with actually like other businesses to see if they would purchase the product. We quickly learned that it wasn't the way to go. There was many like things that we found as we progressed through the startup, which made it not so feasible. And so we were thinking to ourselves, like, hey, you know, we work pretty well together, maybe not on this product, but maybe we can transform EdgeRed into something else.
Yep. Was it called EdgeRed at the time?
Yeah, it was still called EdgeRed.
Yeah.
And so we went back to the drawing board and we were thinking, you know what, we're good at consulting.
Yep.
Why don't we just do that? And so we found our first consulting client, and then we kind of just funded ourselves that way.
Yep.
So we never took any investment.
Yeah,
we
that's
kind
awesome.
of just bootstrapped the whole way through. So we found money, like we found clients, we worked on them ourselves. And then from there, we kind of expanded the work, and then we hired people using the money that we earned from these client projects.
Yep.
So at the beginning, like we weren't really taking a salary. So everything that we earned, we just went back to investing into the company.
So all organic growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. When did you, from that, like, when did you get to the point where, like, you were able to sort of take a salary and be able to say, like, cool, this is it, we're good?
It wasn't too long, to be honest, because we are so scrappy with everything.
Yep.
We actually were able to save a bit.
What do you mean by that, scrappy with everything?
So at the beginning, we wore multiple hats. Like
Yeah,
I think
sure. I get that.
it's not just at the beginning. I think we only just recently let go.
Yep.
So we were our own like accountant. We were our own legal like lawyers. We were our own like everything. So I did like payroll, admin,
Yep.
our website, like everything we would do it ourselves.
Yeah, sure.
But that meant that we would basically work around the clock. Like really funny, like example of this is we use Confluence, and I hope the Atlassian guys don't like come after me for this, but there is this deal where for the first 10 logins, it's only like $10 a month or something like that.
Right.
And so for the longest time, I would just keep activating and deactivating accounts in the team. So we would go under the 10 threshold.
Sure, yeah.
And then it got to a point where our team was just too big and it was just not feasible. And so we said to ourselves, you know what, I think we can afford like...
We can just pay for Confluence now. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was just little examples.
We made it, guys. We can pay for Confluence. All right, good. Okay, cool. So after we first met, you forwarded me on. You did another podcast about more so about, I guess, more of a personal journey of your parents, and obviously deep down to yourself as well. I was glued to it. It was a great production to the people who did it, but the story was like heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time, and I think like listening to it and then knowing you, I honestly feel like there's a lot there in terms of like how that's influenced you into your mindset of who you are and what you bring to the business as well. Do you want to elaborate a bit further around that?
Yeah. So the background is that my parents are refugees. So my mom's from Vietnam and my dad's from Cambodia, and they both respectively left their country by boat. Super like terrifying story of how they got to Indonesia. So my mom and dad both kind of went by boat from their countries to Indonesia and somehow survived on the fishing boat. Incredible story, and it kind of breaks my heart when I hear about it. Then they spent about maybe 5 or so years in the refugee camp in Indonesia. That's kind of where they met. And just hearing like the experience that they had there, you know, there wasn't enough food to eat, that, you know, there was violence and like, you know, just terrible sights. It's crazy to think about it. It feels like something that you watch in a movie. But to know that my parents actually experienced that, it definitely has impacted me and the way that I approach life. So they met at the refugee camp. romantic story. It was that they actually couldn't communicate with each other. So they had different languages that they spoke. But through pointing and, eating together, they somehow figured out how to communicate. My dad learnt Cantonese for my mom, and they actually had me there as well. So I was born in the refugee camp.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I came to Australia when I was 1.
Yeah.
My mom came, she was approved to come first with me. And so she had a whole chapter in her life where she had to navigate this new foreign country by herself with a 1-year-old, which is so crazy.
Insane.
Especially now.
Husband, without your dad. Yeah.
Without my dad, he joined a year later, but now that I have a child of my own, I know how demanding a 1-year-old is, and to navigate that experience that she had, I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Yeah. That being a mum yourself would really eye-open that.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry I was ever a brat.
Yes, exactly. So the reason why I bring it up is because if you think about their experience and what they went through, it's actually life and death situation. Yeah. That is a life and death situation. And, what they had to go through and to come here from all their perseverance, it's so inspiring. And I always kind of think about that. And it drives me because, when I think about what I need to do and what my life looks like now because of what they've done and what they've sacrificed, it kind of put things in perspective.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah, what do I need to do? What are my toughest challenges? Maybe a client's not happy with me, or an employee leaves, or maybe we run into some cash flow issues. So what? I can survive. There are things you can do. And that's what I kind of reflect on, and that's what grounds me.
Yeah. I can absolutely, knowing that your family has gone through something like that, and then realizing that, whenever a little, those issues seem like monumental issues at the time or whatever are nothing compared to that. So that's
exactly. And it doesn't help that they don't talk about it either. So you kind of don't really remember. No, they don't really talk about it. It was, so if you do listen to the podcast, I got my mom to actually talk about her story. That was probably the first time I heard some of the things that she had to say.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad it was myself. I'd like to hear my dad's version one day.
Yeah, right. He's very quiet about it though. Yeah, I can imagine. But and then the story of them coming to Australia, I think you guys started off in Cabramatta and then moved to Wollongong.
Yes.
And just hearing that in itself about there's an entrepreneurial drive there from your family from the start.
Yes. My parents, I don't know where they get their drive and energy from. I think they just want to protect me and my brother so fiercely that they are not afraid to take risk. So when we arrived in Cabramatta. They did find jobs to put food on the table. Yep. So my mom was a waitress in one of the restaurants, and my dad learned how to cook in Chinatown.
Yeah.
So that's where he started to learn the different dishes, and then picked up a few other languages as well. And then we grew up around the Cabra area. And then one day, this was basically, I think, the trigger of everything was we got robbed one day. Yeah. And the robber came and stole everything that was valuable to my parents that they worked so hard for. And then it just hit them, and they said, we need to figure out a way to give, myself and my brother a better life. We need to do something. We can't just stay here and keep doing this. There's something that we need to do. Yeah. And so they took a risk. They went and tried to find a place to open a restaurant. So those were skills that they had. So my mom had, waitressing front of house skills, and my dad had back of house skills. So they could actually work together to do something. Obviously, they've never run a business before, but my mom, she did she came from a very not well-off family in Vietnam. Okay. And so she also had to make do and, selling things on the streets and stuff. So kind of where, the scrappiness. Yeah, it must run in the family. So that's kind of where she kind of found her entrepreneurial spirit from. So they took a risk. They found a place to lease. It was a struggle for them as well because also they were quite young looking and no one would take them seriously. Right, maybe that's where my insecurity came from. So they finally found a place in Wollongong, which was, if you guys don't know where Wollongong is, I'm sure you do, 2 hours.
I like to hope most people listening to this know where Wollongong is. Yep. Yeah,
so I actually grew up most of my childhood in Wollongong.
Yep.
I went to Wollongong Public School, and then I went to Illawarra Grammar School.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to Wollongong University.
Yep.
So I was there for a long time. Yeah. It was my home.
Yeah.
So there they started their restaurant. So they actually opened multiple restaurants around Wollongong and selling, Asian, westernized Asian cuisine. Mm-hmm. So, fried rice, rainbow beef, kind of dishes.
So they started with one and then they opened more.
So I think my parents have a drive to open businesses, but when it comes to taking it to the next step, I think they've never really kind of got there. So they would open the restaurant that they would run themselves, and then once they kind of felt like they needed a break, they would sell it.
All right.
And then they would take a break, and then they'll open another one and then do the same thing. So they've done that 3 times now.
Yeah, okay. So they didn't have them all up separate, different ones, a chain or anything? Or it's setting up in your... Okay.
Yeah. So they were pretty, I'd say control freaks.
Yeah, right.
They need to do everything themselves and they need to be there every day. So growing up, I was... you always hear stories, or you can see kids start little 12-year-olds doing their homework in the back of the restaurant. That was me.
Yeah, that's what I just imagine. You just getting your books out, doing your maths. Yeah.
So I was really into that restaurant scene at a very early age. I started helping them out very, very young.
Yeah.
So I was helping them, as a cashier and as a waitress. So mostly front of house stuff. I can't cook. I cannot cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't cook?
No. They never let me in the kitchen. They're like, oh my God, she's gonna slice her hand off or something. Yeah.
That's so funny. You sound like my wife's, your parents sound like my wife's mum because she's an amazing cook. My wife was really good as well, but my wife's mum, they're Indian. She's Indian, and she wouldn't let her in the kitchen.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Not allowed.
Well, now I have no survival skills. I can order on Uber Eats. That's basically it.
Yes, us millennials. That's how we survive.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, how do you think that influenced you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I remember at a very early age. I always took it upon myself to try and improve their business.
Okay.
So because I was their firstborn oldest, you kind of have a lot of responsibilities. And my parents being someone who doesn't speak English as well, they would rely on me on a lot of things. So that meant I was pushed into this role, this adult role at a very early stage, helping them navigate their accounting. Helping them understand their cash flow, helping them, hire, and even designing the menu. I did everything.
Yeah, wow.
So I did everything in terms of setting up a restaurant, down to picking what color paint to put on the stools and stuff like that. I remember this particular moment where this was back in the days where waitress used to use, the paper pads.
The pads,
to take your order. So they would, use that, put the table number on it, and then they just kind of put it on the counter. And then later, when someone comes to pay, they kind of rummaging the table to find the right table number to give to the customer.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember I was this is maybe 12-year-old something. I was standing there going, surely there's a better way to do this. And so what I did was I went to get, those diaries, with the dates in it.
Yeah.
I bought a really small one of those diaries. And then what I did was I just added a separator which had like table numbers on them.
Okay.
So you had like a section for like table 1, table 2, table 3.
Yeah.
And then you could just open it and put your little paper docket in the section where the table is. So then it's just all organized.
Yeah.
And so I learned at a very early age, like that I hated inefficiency.
Yeah.
And so I would always be on the lookout on like how you can improve your business, how you can make things more efficient, and how you can automate certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe just being in like exposed to that environment had already like trained me up to, do some of the things that I do now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely picture you doing that as well. So that little divider thing. So like it was just a diary and you just like separated it.
It's just so simple. Yeah.
So simple.
Nothing crazy about it, but it's just like saved you a ton of time.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And there's no more lost dockets at the end.
Exactly.
All right, cool. What do you think is your biggest lesson? And I want to talk about running a business, but I'm actually like, what do you think your business lesson has been from your parents?
I'm very fortunate to have the parents that I have. Very unlike other Asian parents, they never put any pressure on me.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's a typical story.
Yeah, it's very, very like non-Asian of them to do that. So even if I kind of came home from school, I didn't do the best, they'd be like, that's fine, whatever. Yeah. So I think what I learned from them is that, there are different ways, there are different paths you can take to get to the goal that you want to go to. So like I remember one time I came home and I did not do so well on this exam and I was beating myself up about it. And then my mom was consoling me. She's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Even if you don't do well, what's the worst that can happen? Like you can't get into uni, then so what? Just do something else. Like, do a TAFE degree or do a bridging course or whatever it is. Or don't go to uni and go like, run a restaurant or, you've got so many options. If you don't pass this one path, what's the worst that can happen? Yep. So that's one of the mottos that I actually apply. Yeah. Quite often. Yeah. So I think people always say, or they think that I'm a risk taker, but I'm not like a straight out risk taker. No. What I do is I look at the option and then weigh the different for every path that I take, I have different backup options. And so if I can deal with like the worst that can happen in that, like going down that path, then I'm good. That gives me a lot of comfort. And so I think I handle stress pretty well. Yeah. So you put me in like environments where high stress. I think I deal with that quite well. I had practice, because my parents' restaurant was quite booming as well. And, having food dockets thrown at you and food coming out like so quickly and the customers kind of yelling at you and asking for things, you kind of learn how to deal with that. I think that was a great training ground for, dealing in high pressure environments. Yep.
Yeah. Definitely. And particularly when you've got your bosses being your parents as well when you're doing that as well.
I think it almost became reversed towards the
Well, you sorted out all the inefficiencies, so I think you became COO of a restaurant in Wollongong for sure. What about running EdgeRed? Been doing it for 6 years now. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned from that?
It's hard to say the biggest lesson. The reason why I love running EdgeRed is because I love the autonomy. Yeah. I love being able to do things the way that I want to do it. Yeah. But I know I don't have all the answers. I know I'm not taking the best path always. And I think the lesson is that you need to know that you may not get it right all the time. Yeah. And when you don't get it right, don't get defensive. Just learn from it. Don't try to make excuses for why things didn't work. Just accept it, try and understand why, and don't make the same mistake again. So, over the course of EdgeRed, whilst we have a lot of great projects, sometimes you get ones that don't work out the way that you want. And from those experiences is where you learn the most. So from projects which don't go the way you want, that's where you learn the most. So I would have, projects probably that, could have gone better. And I reflect with the team and myself, and we have on a conversation on what happened. And then we think about what we can do better. And so the next time that the next time you go on a project, you are more receptive to signs that the project may be not going the right way, and then you can kind of put things in play to try and bring it back on track. So that's definitely it's not a one lesson, but it's kind of a ongoing lesson, and you improve yourself every day.
I saw I think it was an Instagram post or something. It was and I used it on my son the other day. It was you're going to play games and in life, and you're either going to win or you're going to learn.
Yes.
Yeah. You never lose.
100% right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying my hardest to instill that into a 4-year-old's mentality. But if he loses at anything, it's the chess table gets flipped, or the golf club comes flying at me, or whatever it is.
I mean, you only lose if you give up.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. It's when you quit is when you lose. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When did you come with that?
Just now.
Just that. that is the truth. Yeah.
Yes.
It's when if you give up or quit, that's when you lose.
That's right.
Everything else is a lesson.
Yeah. The big owning your own business and running any business, or even running your own team, not even your own business, just a team or project. You have to learn to be resilient.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And things aren't always going to go your way. Things that will happen that's outside of your control.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe something totally external happens. COVID happens. Anything could happen. And it's just about being resilient and then thinking about, okay, cool, this has happened. What can we do about it? Yep. The moment you kind of, point fingers or feel like, oh, I can't do this, or you give up, that's where it starts going downhill.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Cool. Talking about kids, what do you think being a parent has taught you? You've recently become a parent, a mum. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Probably controversial to say, but I never really knew if I wanted kids.
Yeah.
I always felt like, quite career driven. And I always thought, maybe no kids. Yeah. But then I got a bit older, hit the big, 30 milestone, and you start thinking, oh, maybe I should start thinking about having kids. And so I kind of just did it mostly I don't know, because I felt like I needed to.
Yeah.
And it was I was at the life stage that I need to have kids, so I just had one.
Yeah.
And even when I was really big belly, I was still worried. I'm I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
But the moment I gave birth, and the moment I held the baby, I just this overwhelming sense of love, and this feeling this emotion that you didn't even know you could feel came about, and it's the best thing ever. Even though I might be operating on lack of sleep, and I might get embarrassment from toddler tantrums in public. Yeah. It's all worth it, and I'm even thinking about having much more as well. Yeah. It's my partner that's oh no, I think we should maybe stop. But but in terms of how that impacted work, I don't think I've really changed that much. I think I've always been quite empathetic and quite patient.
Yeah.
But what it has done is made this very subtle change in perception.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So when a team member comes to me and, she maybe not be having the greatest time, maybe her client is giving her a hard time, I would kind of empathize with her situation, and I would put myself in her shoes and ask myself, what would I want me to say? How would I want to be treated in that situation? And so that's kind of how I've always approached, talking to different team members. But the subtle change is like now I've started to have that extra add-on, which is like, what if this person is my son? How would I want how would I want my son to be treated?
Oh, wow.
And I think just that extra layer, I don't know, it just makes you think ever so slightly differently.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
No, I totally get that because it's like you're not treating that other person as an image of yourself, but as someone it's not saying you don't care about your please, but someone that you truly love and like want the best for, and but also like I guess want them to learn and do their best as well and be their best self. So you might be saying something even more of a constructive criticism that you might have held back on before as well. Yeah. That's super interesting, and it's so important that you're aware of that as well.
Yeah, like I think before having the child, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I probably thought I was the most important person in my life. And so I would, think about, how would that impact me? How would I want to be treated?
Yeah, sure.
But now having, a child, they become the most important person. And so everything that you do, it's just ever so slightly impacted by this shift.
Yeah. Do you think growing the business is like a family?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
If you ask me what I am most proud of, sure, I'm proud of, having new clients and, winning new projects and all that. But to be honest, the thing that makes me most proud is looking at my team and seeing them like grow on a personal level.
Yeah.
So when they tell me that they've moved out to a new apartment or they bought a new house or that they have a baby on the way or they're getting married, like that brings me incredible joy.
Yeah, wow.
And I feel so proud that me and Howard, we've built something that, people can depend on and rely on and build a lifestyle on. I think that's something that really drives me.
Yeah. What's the culture like at EdgeRed?
Everyone thinks their culture is amazing, right? So the culture that we build, and this is the reason why Howard and my relationship as co-founders works so well, is because we have very similar values. And an example of that is the way that we value our team. From the get-go, we've always been the type of people that put our team member first. So their health, their well-being comes first. And if the moment we know that they're working more than they're supposed to, or that they're given a hard time by the client, or they're just not having a great time, like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Like we act straight away, and we always put people first, and that's what we kind of distill in our team and our leadership team, and so we hope that trickles across the business. Yeah,
fantastic. So, so it's looking out for one another. What word would you use to describe that?
What do you mean?
So what word would you use to describe that type of culture in terms of like having each other's back, supportive, internalize?
I'm not sure how I would describe it in one word. Like for me, I want to build a culture that people feel proud to work in.
Yep.
Something that, suits their purpose in life as well, and that we have a common goal that we're trying to achieve together.
Yeah.
I think obviously we're all out to make money.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't think money should be like the goal or the mission.
Yeah.
I think building the right environment where people are inspired and they want to come together and help you accomplish, a common vision. That's what we want to achieve. And then, if we do a great job, then, reward and money will come and follow.
Yeah. And I remember, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but the mission of EdgeRed is to enable businesses and companies to make better decisions through the use of their data, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
That's definitely one part of it.
Yeah.
And that's why we exist as a business.
Yep.
Other things that we want to obviously have as part of our mission is to, grow the next generation of talent as well.
Okay.
So
in data?
Yeah, in data.
Yep.
Yeah. So we like to, our hiring strategy is normally to hire grads.
Yep.
We prefer that. We take the grads and we train them from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that all of our guys generally tend to be more all-rounder because we make a conscious effort to make sure that they're not pigeonholed in a certain skill and that they have the opportunity to kind of spread across different things. So we won't have like a pure like person that only does this. Yeah. They will have the opportunity to kind of work on a wide range of things, which makes our guys actually super valuable and attractive in the market. Yep. Yeah, so we could be shooting ourselves in the foot there, but we have no regrets on that.
Yep. Yeah, so not pigeonholed in the areas of data itself, so analytics, science, or engineering. Yep. So they get exposure to the range of
and
things.
Tech skills is one thing. Yep. The other thing we get them exposed to really early on as well is like commercial acumen, communication skills. Mm-hmm. From day one, we get them on like client projects and we get them, in meetings already, so they're exposed to that. And then where it makes sense to, we get them presenting. So the like opportunity to learn is massive, and there's no one size fit all. Mm-hmm. We generally look at that person and that individual, and we let them learn how they want to learn. Yep. So there are some people in the team that thrive with structure. Mm-hmm. They need to know what they're doing, and they need to be told these are the goals, these are the outcomes, these are the timelines, and they need to hear like external validation. Yeah. And so for those guys, we would make sure that, we have, things in place that would help them grow. But then on the other side, we have people who hate structure and they just want you to tell them what they need to do and let them go and run with it. Yeah. And you need to recognize that, because if you try to put structure on that person, they would absolutely hate it. Yep. But for that person as well, they think they know everything. So you also need to kind of guide them to, pull them back and, help them kind of walk before they run.
Yep. Yeah, fair enough. What do you look for in the people that you hire besides that's the question. What do you look for in people that you hire?
The biggest thing we look for is their ability to communicate. Okay. And how they think about problems. So when we hire, we generally do give case studies and we assess how they tackle problems. Mm-hmm. Do they do it in an analytical way? That's the most important thing, because that is around your thought process. And you can't really train people to think in certain ways sometimes, but you can train people to learn technical skills. Yep. So even if someone comes in without that much technical background, they know nothing, no coding language, mm-hmm. we may still hire them if they show that they just get the commercial problem. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. We look for people that can communicate their thought process. Mm-hmm. We give them a case study, which has like a very open-ended question. It's like, here's some data. What do you do to what would you recommend this business to do to X, Y, Z? Yep. And from that, we say you can use anything you want, use any tools you want, take as long as you want, like present it in any way you want. Not technically there's a right answer, but if they don't give us the right answer, that's okay as well, because we're just assessing how they approach problems. Yeah, exactly. So we have people that come to us that has a full presentation deck, and they present to us in a presentation, and on the other side we have people like showing us like their code and running through their code. So totally different personalities, but it's about how you explain like how you've done it. Yeah. Communication skills is pretty tough one to teach. Mm-hmm. So by default we would like to have people that can communicate and can think about how they're approaching problems. Technical skills, it's not super high priority. I mean, it's nice to have, but
yeah. Okay, cool. So it's looking at problems from an analytical mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And bonus points for people who actually try to understand what the business problem is.
Okay.
So it's like, why does the business care about this problem? Like, why did they care? Is it because they're losing customers and whatnot? There are people who do go and the extra mile and answer that.
Yeah. That's very important. Yeah. Because that's really looking at why you guys exist as a business.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. So, any potential recruits out there, if you're listening to this, there's a tip right there. All right, we like to finish with a couple of questions that I ask every guest. 3 questions. Who is the most influential person in your career and why?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to cheat and give multiple answers.
That's fine.
So the first answer, which may not be surprising, my parents.
Yeah.
They're the reason why I do this. My biggest motivator in life, or at least, at the start as well, knowing their story and how much they sacrifice to giving me and my brother a better life.
Yeah.
I feel that just gives me so much drive.
Yeah.
Just
such an incredible story.
Yeah. So if I'm having a bad day and I don't want to get out of bed, that is enough to motivate me to get up and start my day.
Yeah.
So I'd say they have a pretty huge influence on my career. And also when I told them I was going to just quit my job, a pretty good job to do this. They were nothing but supportive.
That's amazing.
They were like, do it.
Yeah.
Go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Yeah.
Second one is I really admire people who take risk and go about doing things in a very unconventional way. Mm-hmm. So I surround myself with friends who I think could make me better. So my friend circle, I've got pretty good group of people who actually operate quite separately. Yeah. But there are different aspects in them that I quite admire. Yeah. And it's when they go out and do things that's unconventional, I love it.
Yeah. Have you crafted your friends deliberately? Recently, overhauled them in your 30s? Done a big Facebook call? And you know what? I've known you from primary school. It's not going to work out anymore.
The thing is, I actually cull my social media list quite often.
Do you?
It's
a good habit. I can imagine you doing that though.
Yeah,
I actually just don't go on social media. Except for Instagram, I go on that. On Instagram a bit. But Facebook I just don't go on anymore. But I hear that if you actually spend time in culling it and making it good, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. It can be pretty good.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, if you want to add me on Instagram, all you're going to see are photos of my son. Yeah. And so because of that, I'm like, who am I actually sharing this with? So that's why I do the constant culling.
100%.
But yeah, I do. And COVID has kind of helped with that as well, because during COVID, you can't talk to anyone. And now that, things have opened back up, you're like, okay, so who do I actually want to talk to now? Yep. Who am I going to go and catch up with? So I think that just was a quite natural booster. And then there's people in the media that you admire as well. So I think Jane from Showpo is always one that did not follow the traditional path.
Who's that? I don't know.
Showpo, the retail clothing company.
Okay. Yeah. Jane.
Yeah. Jane. Yeah.
She didn't follow the conventional path. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
she's your friend?
No. I'm saying that she's someone I admire.
Oh, you admire. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was going to say, sounds like a good friend.
No, I won't name friends just because.
It's okay. Okay, cool. What is the best book that you think you've ever read?
Wow, I feel like people are going to judge me. I don't read too much.
Every time I get someone on the show, I have expectations that they're like avid readers.
Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
It's
There's this one book that I think is like quite like really changed my perspective on things.
Yeah, I used to have this question geared to like, what's the best leadership book you've read? But then people are like, I don't read any leadership books. I'm like, oh god. But you're like a CTO of a company, or you're like, no, I read hacker news. I'm like, okay. All right, so now this is the best book. So it could be anything inspiring.
Yeah, so the book called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I don't think I pronounced that very well.
The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
So it's actually, there's a free version on it online. I can link it to you.
Is this book, I feel like I've heard a story, I've read a book about this book, and it's like a guy who spends his life trying to get onto like a wall or something, and then like, and he watches, he's on a post. Is this a book? And there's a war coming, and he's there, he's like guarding this post for his whole life, and the war never comes.
Not that one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But you should read this one.
Okay.
It's quite like inspiring, I think. It gives you a different perspective.
What's it about?
Don't put me on the spot.
Okay.
I don't remember. But one of the biggest things that I definitely, it's like a guide to happiness.
Okay, fair enough.
So there's just like different philosophies or things that make you think and reflect. And one of the things that really resonated with me was it talked about like how much would you say your daily charge out rate is?
I don't know.
I don't know. Just,
as if I'm going to charge myself out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like let's do a grand for like easy calculations.
Yeah, let's just say $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
And
more, by the way, but okay.
Yeah. Just for easy calc. And let's say you spend like, I don't know, again, I'm just going to make it up. You spend like 4 hours cleaning a week.
Yep.
Right? So that's like $500.
Yeah.
So then if you hire a cleaner, and they're like, less than $500.
Yeah, $50 an hour.
Then you save that and
they can probably get the job done in 2 hours, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you can take that time and do something else more productive.
Yep.
So it's about valuing your time.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of take that to heart a lot because like I mentioned earlier, I had multiple hats that I put on. I used to do everything. I used to do all the payroll, all the like onboarding and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, like, why am I doing this? So
outsource it,
we recently, put in place a HR platform.
Yep.
And we also hired our very first non-revenue generating role, just to help with all that admin, invoicing and all that stuff. Which, I don't need to be the one doing it. Mm-hmm. And that time that I take back, I can focus on, improving other parts of the business or, doing other things.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So that book highlights the aspects of happiness and being able to sort of like take back control of your life by the sounds.
Yes. Yeah. I highly recommend it. I think you should read it. Or just skim it.
Yeah. No, we'll link it in the show notes. Yeah, I tend to like this question.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one that I'm reading right now, sorry, I know this is one now, is Never Split the Difference.
Oh yeah, Chris Voss. Yeah, I love that book.
I haven't finished yet, so don't spoil it now.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I do read that as well. Like I think they're just good things to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah.
And then like, whether or not you apply in practices.
Yeah, I've seen a few of his talks and I read his book and I was like, and there's some different things that are sort of taken from it, but I think I just read it because like of the stories that he had of when he's literally negotiating with terrorists about what is he? This is insane. And then there's some good stuff in there. Yeah, I won't say that. Yeah, he talks about like the finding the black swan, which is really cool. And I don't know, like when I've applied some of those methodologies to like negotiating with clients on terms and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, what's the black swan? What do they really want? And like, they just want this candidate, or it's like, they don't want to pay that fee. Like that's usually what it is, or like what's really the motive? I'm like trying to like the juices, and it's just like it's not as big as like whatever those black swan events
Yeah,
are
yeah.
in what he described. So, but it does. I really liked the way he communicated, and I felt like whenever I did go into negotiation after that, I had a lot more confidence in the fact that it's like kind of like what you're talking about. It's like no big deal at the end of the day, even though I used to put so much emphasis on those moments. Because I think what I underlined got it was like, you wouldn't be in that spot if they didn't want something from you. So, and I think like a lot of people, especially when I was younger in my, or more immature in my career, I guess, is like whenever I'd go into like the end closing, I wanted the deal and I wanted to make it so bad, right? And you kind of like got to take that away and realize they also want something from you. Like they want, for us, they want to hire the candidate, right?
Yeah.
So, you shouldn't you shouldn't devalue what you've done as a service. And you should always, uphold that as well as like, as a source of leverage because you're there for a reason, basically. So that was like really, he kind of drills down a little bit that subtly. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It was good. It's just such a great book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard him speak?
No.
Yeah, he's a great speaker. Yeah. Yeah. I recommend it. All right. What are the 3 most important lessons that you've learned from running EdgeRed?
Number 1, be resilient. I think we've mentioned that.
Yeah.
Definitely a very important thing to have when running your own business or your own project or team, whatever it is. Number 2 is treat people like people.
Yeah.
So,
like your son.
Yeah.
Treat people like someone you would love. Yeah.
It's really important. I think sometimes people, they get so caught up in like their deadline and the deliverable, and they forget that, other people have feelings too.
Yeah.
There's nothing to gain by being a total asshole, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you do need to just kind of slow down. Everyone's got shit going on.
Yeah.
And just like, you lose nothing by just slowing down and being kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And number 3, I don't know what I would say. Probably, like what we alluded to, which is make sure that you've got a network of people that you can kind of rely on, bounce ideas off. Definitely not something that you can do alone.
Yeah.
You don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And it's good to get perspective. Like you won't by yourself think of all the different perspectives or the different things that could happen. And talking to other people, you may not agree with them, but I think it's good to kind of see more holistically what's going on. So like generally before we do something big, Howard and I will talk amongst ourselves. But, we've been working together for 6 years. Like we kind of think quite similarly now. Yeah. And we kind of know what each other's going to say or do anyway. And so just getting like fresh opinions or external opinions from other people is really valuable as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that as well. It's such an important lesson, I think, to surround yourself with people who add value to you. Build that universe. Yeah. It's a talking point. A lot of the books that I've read growing up is building that network that you can rely on. I think it's Shaquille O'Neal. He talks about having his core 6 people that he brings into life. Because I don't know if you know the story about him, but he's gone on to be a really powerful entrepreneur. Set up loads of different businesses, bought into like loads of franchises and stuff. But he always, whenever he makes a business decision, he always runs it by 6 people before making a decision. So he gets different perspectives. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if I would quantify it like 6 exactly, but definitely is important.
That's his one. Yeah.
Because you don't know.
You can just run by someone else. Yeah.
You don't know the answer to everything, and just having an extra perspective could prompt you to think about something else.
Yeah, sure. No, I love that. Monica, I want to thank you so much for coming on board to Scale Up Soundbites. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and appreciate you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the success of EdgeRed continue and yourself as well.
Thank you. No problem. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks very much. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.